Welcome back, Screen Fiend fans. Sorry it took so long. We've been very busy around here, as you already should know. But let's get to the movies. This is, of course, Goosapina. And Goosapina is a character in The Many Saints of Newark, the Sopranos prequel movie that's supposed to set up the entire franchise that we have known and loved watching it over the years. Now, there's always a now, there's always a problem, there's always a what now? Now, this film took on a life of its own. This film was very well, excellently casted. It was excellently put together as far as the look, cinematography, everything. It looked like a period film. It really did. It fit. And this really should have been called Dickie Moltisanti. Now, Dickie Moltisanti is the one that Tony looked up to more than his father, who really was his cousin, but he looked up to as an uncle. Because really, in real life, the Moltisantis are related to Carmela. That's her cousin. Dickie is really Carmelo's uncle in real life. And the son is her cousin. But he always looked up to Tony as his uncle. They brought out a lot of interesting things about this film, tropes and what have you. A lot of things was brought up. A lot of questions from the old television series from HBO that really sprung HBO into like the front seat. A lot of things transpired. One of the main things that transpired, that was a good thing, was they showcased character. That was one of the strong suits of The Sopranos. Every character meant something to the show. They brought their own thing. And the character they got to play Seal was absolutely top notch. Wouldn't change it for the world. Now, this story really is about Dickie Moltisanti and his father, played by the great Ray Liotta, came in and with his wife, or his new wife rather, from the old country of Italy, and he moves him in. And his name was just like his father, except for he was Hollywood Dick. Now you start to see the tensions. This is like the 1960s, like 1967. And the story of two friends. Two old high school buddies. Dickie Moltisanti and his buddy Harold. Harold is a black man. And in the 1967s, it was very much segregated, kind of like it is now. Harold's got in dreams of ambitions, even though he lives in the ghetto. And his old high school football buddy, who was the star of the team, Harold kind of went back to the hood while Dickie Moltisanti was the big mob boss. So he ran the numbers in the town. And the numbers game, just like the lottery, is what kept the mob going. They were making their money off the blacks, even though they hated the blacks. The blacks had money and they would spend whatever they could to try to hit the numbers. So the numbers game was always big. So this got Harold thinking, I'm tired of these Italians doing everything and then they handing us crumbs. Why are we waiting on my hands and feet for them? Dickie don't care about us. He don't give a damn about me, really? Because he give me a little bit of change here and there. He looks at me the same way they look at me. And Dickie could never believe that his friend would turn on him like that because Dickie, in reality, wasn't his friend. He was just somebody who did whatever he needed to have done for him. In this movie, there are a lot of different stories told about Dickie. As far as it's kind of like how you would say visually puts a analyzation over how most Italians act and most people act, and in general, because this could go to anybody. They never see their faults, but they see faults of everybody else. Dickie Moltisanti was meant to be just like Tony Soprano. And Tony ended up being just like him. The only thing I think the movie failed at, and it's a slight thing, and I think they probably did it on purpose, is because I don't think this is the one and off prequel. I think they're going to do more of these. That's the only reason why. Because I was like, man, there was so much detail on just Dickie. So, if you put all that attention on Dickie, you miss a lot. You miss a lot of the Soprano characters. Like, one of the characters I felt that was pretty much minimalized here, but was huge on the TV series, was Johnny Soprano. Johnny Soprano was played by a great actor on the series. Here, I don't think the character that played him depicted him the way he should have been played. Johnny was a bit more louder, a bit more emotional, little more life to him than how he was portrayed here on the show. Oh, the mom was excellent. Plus, the 1967 riots, the race riots that kicked off once a cab driver in New York was beat up, a black cab driver was beat up by the police. It turned into a big race riot where they burned down about half of a couple of city blocks. Some people were shot, police were beat up. It was a very dangerous time. And with all that tension brewing, it plays into the storyline of two friends, Harold and Dickie, falling apart. Because Dickie is not seeing what's actually happening. He doesn't see the undermining of his friend. He thinks he's being generous, but he's not. All the things that are blowing up in Dickie's face, that ends up blowing up in his face. He has no idea why these things are happening. Because he feel like I've done so much good things, so many good things to try to atone for anything bad. We want to do good deeds. But not all good deeds are for him, or for, he thought was for God. Like God would be proud of what he's doing. No, these deeds was all about him. So, I don't want to tell anything of the story because I don't want to ruin it for some people who hadn't watched it yet. But I thought the characterization, the story, the way it's developed, is going to be set up for a continuation. But you get to see some of the connection between him and Tony. And you can see he had a big imprint on Tony's life. More than his father. His father did 4 years in jail. And during that 4-year gap, Tony Soprano was a kid who went from like a 10-year-old boy to a 14-year-old, 15-year-old kid. Dickie was like the dad. Even though Junior was there, he just didn't know how to talk to him. And the mom, she always looked up to Dickie. She thought of him as special. She always held him up with a high esteem when she spoke about Dickie. I thought it was very well done. A very introspective type of film. But I still feel it was lacking a certain punch. You know, it felt more like I was watching an extra long television series than a movie. So it seemed like everything here was to set up what's to come in the future. You know, we start seeing characters come. This would have played, I think, better as a mini-series. A prequel mini-series. I think it would have played out a lot better that way. Well, you never know who's who. But it also goes to show you the level of, you know, the level of respect in this game and what made Tony decide to get into the game. So I'm just interested to see where it goes from here. Because you can't leave it like this and just go right into the Sopranos series. There's so much missing. Mm. Very much so. His son's acting, well, he really didn't have too many roles which would really engage him. His character was just in the movie, and I think he might have probably altogether probably about 30 minutes of screen time. I'm serious. This is a 2-hour film, and the first half of the hour of the movie, it's the littler version of Tony Soprano and not him. By the time he becomes that Tony Soprano, his father's out of jail. So before, but you look at him and you see his father. You see James Gandolfini. You see him. I'm like, geez, that's him. All over, the way he sit at the table, everything. Facial expressions, even the voice. I said, oh my gosh. It's shocking, when you see some of the things. But if I gotta rate it, I'm gonna give it 3 stars out of 4. And the actor that plays Sil, he was great. Because now it shows that Sil has a hairpiece. That thing that sits on his head, his hair, it's not really his hair, it's a hairpiece. Sil was bald and was fighting baldness to the end. And it showed how much older these guys were than Tony. Tony wasn't even in the game yet. He was basically a kid when Sil was running around. So Sil and all these guys were really old when Tony took over. But he did a great job for what was asked of him. I think we'll see more of him when they continue this series on. And that just goes to show you, people can act and get roles down if you give them their moment. He was given the moment and he took advantage. The many saints of Newark. Damn, when did I do this? I did not do it. That's why. That's a piece of work done by mother. Would I? Oh, big spider. Big Spider-Man. And we will talk about the Venom. The Venom. Ow! Back the thing up. Johnny, I don't think they got right. Especially after I saw him played to perfection. Johnny Soprano was, I mean, that's what made The Sopranos epic. Whenever they had those episode throwbacks to Johnny Soprano and all the guys from the past, you got to see how they moved and operated, and you got to see how Johnny operated. Johnny moved like a boss. Sometimes, you know how they say the situation, it is what it is. Look at it that way. It is what it is. I just can't wait for the other sequels. But like I said, it felt like a very long episode of Sopranos rather than a movie. Felt like a television series. And it should have been a series. They should have made a series out of this. The characters are too great. If you're going to do a prequel, one movie is not going to justify all that. We see why Chris was going to be made the future boss of the family. Everything. You just have to be patient. this morning. Got yourself a gun.